So Retro Studios has been one of the quietest big studios that we've been trying to figure out what they've been doing, right? It seems that they're doing a Star Fox racing game, really from a lot of different places that have reported it. Sure, it's still a rumor right now, and we hope to find out at some point, maybe a direct later this fall or something, we'll find out what their main game is. But of course, other than that, we're pretty much left to speculate about Retro Studios and what they've been doing for the last 5 or so years. I mean, we had Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, of course, they released. They also did some work on Mario Kart. They helped with some of those tracks. I think they helped like 16 tracks or so there. And they also obviously helped with the port job going to the Switch because their names were on and everything. So it seems like for the most part, though, they've been working on other stuff we don't know about. And we also found out, according to some of these sources that did report on the Star Fox, specifically Eurogamer talked about how there was a canceled project that Retro Studios was a part of. And the thing about Retro Studios, the reason it's not hard to believe this is because they've had a lot of stuff canceled in the past, just that we know about. Specifically on the GameCube, kind of early on a while ago, we know about Raven Blade, and then there's actually an NFL game that they had canceled and some other stuff, one that was even unnamed. But if those are the ones we know about, how many are canceled behind the scenes that we don't know about? I'm actually surprised Eurogamer found out about that, because that was probably kept, tightly wrapped. But 5 years is a long time to not have anything to show, and it looks like now with some Glassdoor reviews that were found, people are a little concerned, and now people are just outright worried that Retro Studios might be closed. Also, of course, this is rumor wave, so none of this can really be completely confirmed or anything, and a lot of this is probably speculation, but it's interesting to keep an eye on because we have to assume Retro Studios is showing their game hopefully before the end of the year. But let's take a look at these Glassdoor reviews. This is the big one that people keep pointing to. It says at the top, the Spark left this place a long time ago. They don't recommend it. Negative outlook. They disapprove of the CEO, and they say they worked at Retro Studios full-time. The pros, we got free games sometimes, and it's a steady paycheck. Sure, it makes sense. They're funded, obviously. I have no issues there. Cons, half the team is expecting Nintendo to shut it down, and the other half is hoping Nintendo sees the elephant in the room and changes management. Advice to management, just move to Vegas and get it over with. So here's the thing about Retro Studios. It's not hard to believe that they do have mismanagement internally, obviously, if they're taking this long to get a game out and they don't release a ton. They really haven't released a ton of games, actually, now I think about it, in their history, except when they were doing Metroid Prime. They seem to get those out pretty well. Donkey Kong came out. They were on a decent schedule, but they don't release a ton of games in their history. They do focus heavily and get their quality down, and it shows. I don't think they've ever made a bad. Their games are always good. Like every game they've done that is quality. So that's why I look forward to their games, because I know I'm getting a good experience out of it. Even if you didn't like the Donkey Kong games, you gotta admit, they were high quality games. Tropical Freeze is awesome. So it really was confusing to me why they were passed on for Metroid Prime 4. Maybe because they were in development for the Star Fox game. That's all I could think of, because obviously Metroid Prime 4's development, when it was announced at E3, and then we find out it was not them who was working on it. It seemed to be a different internal team. It seemed like they might have been working on something else at the time, but man, it's weird, right? Because this is the first time a Metroid Prime game has not been worked on by Retro. They did the first 3 from the GameCube to the Wii, and then of course Metroid kind of skipped the Wii U. But here we are now with Prime 4 being worked on seemingly by internal teams and Bandai Namco. So Star Fox, we assume, is their game, but it seems like there was something else, and more than likely, let's just say, here's the thing about Glassdoor, anyone can leave a review for anyone. It's anonymous, straight up. I could leave a review for any company I wanted and pretend like I worked there, but for 1 second, let's just pretend that this is on the up and up, it's legitimate, and there's a good chance it's probably not, but let's pretend for a second, since this is going around, let's assume that this person may have been on the side of the canceled project, and when you're a disgruntled employee, you say things like, it's probably going to be closed. Nintendo isn't really in the business of closing studios that often at all, really, so I wouldn't expect them to just close what we see as like their highest quality, biggest Western developing team, with Retro Studios. I wouldn't expect that, but it's hard not to believe that there is not some internal struggle at Retro Studios in some way, and management possibly being called out here isn't that hard to believe. And honestly, it might be truthful, seriously, if they have this hard of a time to get a game out. 5 years is a long time, and I hope it's good, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I was a bit concerned. It almost feels like a lot's riding on the Star Fox game, and unfortunately, from the people that I've talked to, they have not really heard of much about them having some serious internal struggle, but they also say that they are broken up into compartmentalized teams and everything, so there are different departments and everything, teams. So it's possible that that department is struggling, whereas the department working with Star Fox is not, and everything's straightforward. We're going to see about this Star Fox game, and it does seem like that is the case, even though it's still rumored, but I hope it's good. I really do, because I don't think Nintendo would shut them down for a bad game like a Star Fox comes out and it's bad, but I would like to see Retro Studios, their track record continue as just releasing quality after quality. We'll see, though. Hopefully that's later this year, because it's been a long time since I've seen Retro Studios present in a Direct or at E3. It's about time, though, I think, right? Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Glassdoor is anonymous. That's why this is Rumor Wave, because I can't tell you yes or no if this is true. But it makes us wonder, because of the circumstances around Retro Studios now, it's not hard to believe there is issues with management there, right? It's not. It seems to be an ongoing thing with canceled projects all over the place. But let me know what you guys think down below about this whole situation, seriously, about Retro and everything, and what do you think is going to happen there. Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.